Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing this evening? I am before you all today to bring you guys another update on my pregnancy situation. This may be new information or not necessarily information, but this update may be new to some and anticipating to others. You're going to probably see two videos from me on two different subjects. I'm going to try my best not to merge both subjects together and just talk about two different subjects because I want to address the first subject that I'm here for, which is my pregnancy, and to give an update on my my doctor's visit. And then the second thing we'll talk about you'll see in another video. I'm going to try my best to keep this video at about 25 to 30 minutes. If I have to go longer, then I will do two parts to the video. The reason why that you see the lighting the way that it is because I have to find a time where I'm focused and where I can have a little bit of privacy to talk about these videos. Typically, when I have done my updates on my pregnancy, I'm usually in the car or in the doctor's office, but that's not the case today. So I had to, position myself in an atmosphere where I could come to you and, be comfortable talking and things like that. So it is pretty late, excuse me, in the evening. I'm a little drained, but I promised a lot of my followers and a lot of my CP moms that I would give an update once I went back to the doctor. And it's really kind of difficult to find a starting point without getting, really long-winded about the situation. So my last visit, let's see, was, I think it was in May. I had started seeing a new doctor in May, and I went for a visit. And when I went for my first visit, of course, I talked to her about my situation with my cryptic pregnancy, or not my cryptic pregnancy, but, about my pregnancy and what, I filled her in on what was going on, and we talked about it. And of course, initially what she wanted to do was send me out for another ultrasound and transvaginal. And so I did that. And once I had all of those tests done, my next step would be to come back for a follow-up. So that's going to bring us to where we are now. So I had my follow-up appointment on yesterday. After I had the ultrasound and transvaginal, it takes about a week to get the report and images back from the place where you go to get your sonogram, and I'm sorry, not the sonogram, your ultrasound done. So my ultrasound report came back on the 21st of June, along with the images. And what I saw on the images that came back was astounding. I just could not believe it. And the puzzling thing to me is that the radiologist that actually reviews the images and the one they actually review the images and do the report, I just don't see how they can give all of this information about, my kidneys and my liver and fibroids and all of that and skip around the most undeniable, thing that you can see on my ultrasound, which are my babies. And I have one particular baby that is on my, I'm sorry, y'all, if I'm breathing heavy or it's hard for me to catch my breath, but my throat is sore. But one particular baby that has always been like the first baby I've ever seen, that's the biggest baby, is on my right side. And that baby has grown and gotten really big. And I mean, his or her entire body is taking up half the space on one of the images on my ultrasound, but that we'll get into that later. So what I don't understand is how the radiologist can give a report on all of my organs, and that's the first thing you see when you look at the image, but there's nothing in my report that talks about this particular image, which is the image of my baby. So I don't know why they go around that or why that is ignored. It is the most bizarre thing I have ever, I just don't understand it. So anyway, so once I saw the images, I saw some other things. I'm not going to get all into that because I don't think it's necessary. However, I will put up the one image that I've just talked to you all about, the one image of the bigger baby. I will share that with you. And the reason why I'm being so transparent and so open about my experience with my pregnancy is because there are so many women who are suffering in silence. They are not getting the medical attention that they need. They have been told by doctors that they are, imagining these things, that they are mentally unstable, that it's not a baby, it's a fibroid, it's a tumor, it's all these other things. And these women are just expected to just ignore what they are feeling in their bodies, to ignore their baby bumps, to ignore the kicks and the moves, and even the visual pictures on the sonograms. Those who are fortunate enough to get it, not a sonogram, I'm sorry, a ultrasound. I don't know if that's the same thing, but those who are fortunate to get an ultrasound and can see the images on this ultrasound, you can see their baby as clear as day. And for whatever reason, these doctors will not acknowledge them as, even if you don't think that that's what it is, the fact that there's something there that you can visibly see, that shouldn't be ignored either. So if there's a discrepancy about what it is, even if you don't, if the doctors don't feel like that it is a baby, then what is it? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me why, these type of pregnancies are being ignored and taken for granted, and we're just being brushed off as if we are psychotic, or we're imagining these things, or we want to be pregnant so bad that we make these things up. Now, I can't speak for everybody else. I can only speak for me and speak for the other women who I've been in contact with, and I've seen their sonograms, and they are pregnant, in fact, pregnant. So if I have to be the one to spearhead this thing, and if I have to be the one that's called crazy and psychotic and delusional and all of those things, so be it. As I explained in my other videos, I have thick skin, and I'm not really concerned about, what other people think or what other people feel about my pregnancy. It's my experience, it's what I'm going through. It's what I'm dealing with, and I'm going to advocate for myself and for other women that are going through CP. And if it's called something else, once my situation gets resolved, then we'll get into that, But right now, this is what we know that we have. And I'm just, I feel the pain of other women who are going through this. And then, having CP, it's not, a specific, race or, age. It's all races, it's all ages, it's all nationalities. I've dealt with African-American women that are young, 20, in their 20s. I've dealt with, Caucasian women who are in their late 40s. I've dealt with middle-aged women in their 30s that are of another descent, So it doesn't affect just one race or one age group. It's all types of women that are going through this. And if I have the strength and the capacity to help, make a difference and help these women who are suffering, because it is very hard to have this kind of pregnancy because you are pregnant for a very long time. And there are some women who are very strong, some women who are, able to withstand, some of the things that they have to deal with. Their faith in God is very strong, and that's not to say that other people's faith isn't, but some people just know how to cope a little bit differently than other people. And I'm one of those people where if I have to do this by myself, I will. Unfortunately, I don't. But there are many people who can't tell people that they're going through this kind of pregnancy. So, but I don't want to get off in a tangent about that. You just got to go through it to kind of know what it's like to be in this position. And this is not my only passion. This is just one passion that I have that I want to bring awareness to. Like I said, when I do my next video, we're going to get into the other things that I want to share with you guys. But so anyway, I got my images back from when I had the ultrasound done. I got the images back on June 21st. So I went to my doctor yesterday. So I'll get in there and, we sit down and we begin to talk about the images that I saw on my, I'm just going to say sonogram, my ultrasound, because it's the same thing. And the weird thing is my doctor says that she can only get a copy of the report, but not the actual images. She doesn't have access to that, which I find to be really, really strange, because the way technology is, I find that to just be really, really ironic. But if that's the case, okay. She may not have had access to the images, but I did. And I brought my images to her, and I sat down and I said, listen, you sent me in for an ultrasound. The images came back. Because what I saw in my sonogram was so vivid to the point where I actually had to call her to see if I could come in earlier or if there was a way she could see it, because it just blew my mind. I just could not believe it. And for that image not to be mentioned in my report at all, I just did not understand that. So like I said, so anyway, I went in and I showed her the image that I saw on my ultrasound. And actually the image that I saw, the baby was actually under my liver, because my babies are lodged in my liver and behind, where my kidneys are. That's where some of the babies are, because I'm having more than one. So I showed her the image and I said, I'm not going to reveal who my doctor is, but I said, listen, this is what I saw. This is one of the first images I saw. I said, you already know what this is, I said, you can see the head, you can see the eyes, you can see the ears, you can see the arms. And she just had this look on her face like she just was stuck. And I was like, so what do you think? So what she did was say, okay, so you're saying this is the head. And she outlined everything. She was like, this is the head, this is the eyes, this is the ear, and this here is the body, and this here is the arms. Is that what you're saying? You see? And I was like, yeah. And I said, so, and then I showed her another image where I saw two babies in one sack. And I brought those images up and we zoomed in on them and we outlined those babies as well. And I said, so what do you want me to do with that? I was like, that's something that cannot be ignored. And she was like, well, you have very valid questions and what you're saying is true. And she said, so what I want you to do is I want you to call the radiologist, see if you can make an appointment so that you can sit down with the radiologist to go over your images so that the radiologist can explain to you exactly what these images are. And I was like, so in your professional opinion, what do you think that they are? And because, see, these doctors they will not say, I see a baby. They will not. I don't know if they're afraid that they're going to get sued because, she was saying, well, we don't hear a heartbeat, then, if we don't hear a heartbeat, if we're still getting a negative blood and urine test, because when you have CP, all of your tests are still negative. Now your pregnancy can turn normal, and your test can turn positive over a period of time. But typically, the first couple of years, your tests are negative. And so, she said, I want you to sit down with the radiologist so he can go over these images so he or she can explain what these images are. Now, she all but said it was the baby, because when she outlined what she was asking me, she was like, so this is what you say you're seeing right here. You see the head, you see the eyes, and it was almost like, you know how you have how kids have a coloring book and you have like the little dots in the shape of the picture, and they have to trace around the dots to make the picture. Well, so that's kind of what she did with her finger. She just kind of like followed around the image of the picture, and she was pointing to the eyes and the nose, this, that, and the other. So that was her way of saying it without saying it. But it's cool. I'm kind of used to those kind of responses at this point. But I was not going to allow her to dismiss what we were looking at. That's my whole point. Whether she said it or not, I was not going to allow, and I don't think that's what her intent was. I just think she's stuck. She doesn't know what to do because this situation is so abnormal. So she had to say something. Because at this point the ultrasound was already done, because then she was like, well, what we can also do is we can get an MRI done, because that's going to give you a more vivid image of whatever, it is that is there or whatever like that. Now I've heard, you should get an MRI when you're pregnant. I think it's harmful more so to the baby when you have the dye injected. But it may be safer for the baby without that. Of course, I would not get dye injected, and I would do more research to see if an MRI is in fact safe for my babies if it comes to that. But I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So without this video continuing to be more drawn out or whatever, I'm trying to just get like right down to the, point of everything. So anyway, her suggestion to me was sit down with the radiologist to see if he can go over the images. And she was like, if you have a problem with meeting with this doctor and they don't want to meet with you, call my office, leave me a message, and I will call the radiologist myself and say, hey, look, we need answers. We need to know what's going on, this, that, and the third. And here's the part that I just didn't understand. If you are the doctor and you see that there is something very clear on this image that needs an explanation, why are you asking me to call the radiologist to set up an appointment to talk with the radiologist when you are the doctor? You ordered the ultrasound. You see the images. So why aren't you calling the radiologist and having a conversation and saying, hey, there's something different going on here with these images. We see a picture here. We don't know what it is. Can you elaborate? Why are you leaving that up to me to do? But I appeased her. I was like, fine, because whatever I got to do for my babies, I'm going to do it. I mean, hey, it's not making a phone call. It's not a problem for me. So I made the call. I called and I found out the radiologist's name. I talked to the young lady in the office. She was like, well, ma'am, the radiologist can't meet with you. The radiologist would have to go through your doctor, and your doctor would have to sit down with you and tell you, what the radiologist has said about, whatever it is they discussed. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what I thought initially, but I was just doing what she asked me to do. And I said, she told me that if there was an issue, that she would contact the radiologist. I said, so can I get the radiologist's name? And I'll just pass that information on to my doctor. Okay, so that's that. So now I got to follow up with her to make sure that she has this radiologist's information. So, I continued talking to her about my symptoms. I told her about my weight continuing to increase, and I'm to a point now where I can barely walk. I have to do everything in a scooter now. I can walk a few feet. I can stand and I can do some things, but it's only for about 5 or 10 minutes, if that, because the babies are so heavy. So, okay, so then this other subject came up. So when I was there the first time in May, she drew blood and she said, "What I'm going to do is just draw your blood because I want to take another type of blood test." That was when I was there in May. And so now I'm just getting back to her in July because I had to have some other tests done. Like I needed to get I also get the ultrasound done because she wanted to check my liver because my liver is enlarged. Well, now I know why, because the babies are behind my liver. And I have a fatty liver anyway, but that it's a combination of both, I think. So, um, so I had my organs checked when I had the ultrasound. And then she wanted me to see my cardiologist because I'm having problems with breathing because the babies are heavy, so it's just hard to breathe. And I don't know if it's because of the way that they're positioned, or if there's something totally different going on. I don't know. So that's why I have to see my cardiologist. So I made an attempt to see my cardiologist, but I informed him that I am pregnant and that I don't want to be prescribed any medication that could harm my babies. Now, of course, I have not been medically cleared of my pregnancy yet because that's what we're in the process of doing. So the lady at the cardiologist's office said, "Well, get something in writing from your doctor to let us know what exactly is going on with you. That way, the cardiologist will know what to do when he sees you if, in fact, you have to be prescribed some kind of medication." Okay, so I told my gynecologist that, and she said, "Well, leave your cardiologist name and number with me, and I will call your cardiologist and explain to your cardiologist what is going on." So I did that. She said, so anyway, so we talked a little bit more about some other details of the pregnancy, and she used the monitor to see if she can hear the baby's heartbeat. I told her that my babies are in my back, so she did take the monitor to listen to see if she can in fact hear heartbeat or movement or whatever. And of course, when you're sitting there, the babies did not move, and so she didn't even do it really long. She did it for about maybe a minute, if that, and that's fine. But the fact that she did it was good enough for me. The babies weren't active at the time, so she didn't hear anything, and that's fine. And I was kind of joking with her. I said, "They're not going to move just because we're doing this." I said, "But as soon as it's over and I get in the car, I'm going to get a kick." And that's exactly what happened. But hey, it is what it is. I'm not upset about it. So we only got like maybe 7 minutes left because I said I don't want to go beyond 30 minutes. So she said, "Well, when you were here and I drew your blood the last time," she said, she went through all of my blood work and told me, the things that I need to get taken care of because I got some other things that I need to get taken care of. Something, really simple, nothing major, but it's not important to get into that. But what was ironic is that she was saying how when you do blood tests and if your test comes back negative, your number is usually 0. She said, but if in fact you take a blood test and you are pregnant, the number has to be 5 and above, or 5.5 or higher. And she said, what I noticed when I drew your blood is that your number read 2. And she said, now if a person is not pregnant, there's not going to be a number. There's going to be 0. And if a person is pregnant, the number is going to be 5.5 or higher. She said, but there is some indication of pregnancy there because your number read 2. And she said, I found that to be very ironic that, signs of hormonal pregnancy is there. Now, what's probably happening is that my HCG levels are probably rising because cryptic pregnancy can turn normal, but it's just really, really slow. So she said, what I want to do is I want to draw your blood again before you leave. And she said the test results should come back by Friday. And she said, I want to see if your numbers have gone up again. And, and she was like, I'm going to give you a call and I'm going to let you know what they are. And she's just like, I'm just going to keep monitoring you and just to see if your numbers are still changing. But she was like, your numbers shouldn't be, if you're not pregnant, there shouldn't be a number there. And if, to know that you are in fact pregnant and you're positive, it's got to be, the number is five. Like I said, guys, like 5.5 or higher. Now, the weird thing about it is that when I first got my sonogram back in June of 2018, I remember looking at a couple of my numbers, and I can't remember exactly what the number was for. It might have been, no, it wasn't the sonogram that I saw the numbers with. I saw some paperwork. I may have done blood work with my primary doctor. Anyway, and the number wasn't even 2 when I was doing my pregnancy test, my blood test and stuff with my primary doctor. It wasn't even at 2 then. It was, I think it was like 0 at that time. And so now, based on what she's saying, when my current doctor, my gynecologist, she's saying now that the number is at 2. So it's risen since, I first started taking all of my blood tests. So, I don't know. This is all in God's hands. But I told you guys that I would give you an update on what's going on now. I will say that I do like this doctor because she's not blowing me off. She allows me to say what I need to say. Oh, and before I forget, this is one important thing I did want to leave you guys with. When I showed her all of the images from the sonogram that I had done, she was looking at them and she said, "Do you mind if I take a picture of your images?" I was like, "No, I don't mind." So, because I took a picture of all my images and and I keep them on my phone. I can get a copy of my images on the CD, which I'm going to do because I keep all of my images from every appointment. But she was like, "I want to take a picture of your images. Do you mind?" I was like, "No." You could. I mean, if I was able to give them to her on a CD, she could have done that. I mean, I would have given her that, but the fact that she was even interested in looking at them even further and she wanted to look at them, to me, is showing that, okay, maybe there's something more that she really needs to think about, or maybe there's something she wants to look further into it, and she probably just didn't have the time to do all of that while I was there for my appointment. So I was just like, okay, cool. And the fact that she took an interest in wanting to see my sonogram, my ultrasound pictures, and she wanted to take a look at it because I made sure that I pointed out every baby that I saw. Every image of a baby that I saw, I made sure I pointed it out to her. And one image I showed her, this was back in June of 2018. That's how long I've been getting sonograms. And I showed her that one from June of 2018 when one of my babies was really, really small. She pointed right to it. She's like, I said, you see this image here? She's like, yeah, I can see, like hands folded up or whatever. I said, well, the baby that's right under that is the same baby, but he or she is much bigger now. And she was just like, wow, So, I don't know, guys. To me, that's progress. Just to have somebody listen, to have somebody to just not turn me away and say, no, this is impossible, whatever. And to be able to, encourage my other CP moms to hang in there. There's going to be a breakthrough for this. And if this doctor continues to work with me and we continue to get through this together, I told the doctor that I'm in a support group and that I have other women that I talk to. And once we get this breakthrough and things, come to fruition and out in the open, and it's all in God's timing. And I know a lot of women are all over the world with CP, and I know that some women can't afford to travel and they can't afford to get, to certain places, but I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to pray that if there's a breakthrough with this and this doctor is willing to see other CP moms, I'm going to try to figure out a way to help these women get to this doctor. Because we need to bring awareness to cryptic pregnancy. I've had so many people in my comments, telling me I'm in denial and and to tell me that, there's no such thing. This one, I don't know if it was a grown woman or I don't know who she was, but made some comment about, oh, my grandparents are doctors, and what you have is this and what you have is that, and just trying to diagnose me and tell me what I have. And typically I just block people like that. I don't even entertain their comments. But this particular time I had something to say. And I mean, like I said, I'm a woman of God. I'm not going to cuss you out and get him, indignant, but I'm going to let you know what you need to know. And just because I do doesn't mean that I'm being rude, but some people just need to know. I didn't ask for your opinion. If you disagree with what I'm saying, or you feel like what I'm saying is bogus or whatever, you don't have to entertain the video. You don't have to watch it. You don't. But no one is going to come on my channel or my page and discredit what I'm trying to do to help other people. If someone feels like what I'm saying is, not the truth or whatever like that, I mean, my page is open. You can leave a comment, but I'm just gonna let you know if it's something, if you're being rude, if you're being nasty and things like that. I don't mind people giving their opinion and thoughts, but you're not gonna, enforce, you're not going to diagnose me with your comments. There's a way that you can say something and get your point across. But to tell someone they're crazy, and to tell someone they're delusional, and to tell someone they're this, that, and the other, that's not going to be tolerated. So it is what it is. But I'm going to get ready to end this video, guys, because we're beyond 30 minutes. We're like almost on 32 minutes. And I'm going to do another part to this video. But I wanted to give you an update on my latest doctor's appointment and let you guys know what happened. I have a follow-up appointment in a couple of months. And I think that's probably going to depend on what when she calls me back with my blood results. If the numbers are still the same, then I'm going to be going back to her in September to do another blood test, to get more blood drawn. And we're just going to keep up with the numbers to see if they keep rising. If something else happens between now and then, and I feel like I need to see her before then I'll go in to see her if I feel like it's necessary. So to all my CP moms, to any woman that thinks that they could be dealing with this type of pregnancy, listen to your body. Do not ignore it. You're going to have a cycle with CP. And it's going to be different. Some days you're going to bleed for, just like your normal cycle. Then some days it's going to be longer. Some days it's going to be shorter. Some days you're going to spot. Your bump is going to grow. And then you're going to have times where you're kind of at a standstill, but you're going to have all of the pregnancy symptoms. You get tired, you get fatigued, and all of that. Make sure that you take your prenatal pills. I take the ones right over the counter. I take the chewable ones. If you can't find a doctor that's willing to help you, and every time you go to the doctor, they're telling you that you're not pregnant, you're not this, you're not that. Sometimes you have to just wait it out and pray about it and just see what you need to do that's best for you. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of doctors that give us the kind of care that we need. And it's really, really a hard thing to do. It's hard for people to believe that you can be pregnant longer than 9 months. People shun you. You may feel embarrassed. You may feel like you can't tell anybody. Well, I'm glad that you came across my video because we can talk about it. I also have an Instagram, and it's called... what is it called? It's called CP_times, which is TIMEZ and the number 2. And then I have a Facebook page called My Cryptic Pregnancy Miracles. And if you want to DM me and, you want to ask me questions, I'm not a professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I am only helping women based on my experience. And based on the strength that God has given me to get through this. And I want to help other people. So You guys stay tuned for the next video. I want to talk to you all about some other things that I'm getting ready to do. And I hope that this helps any mom, CP mom, that's going through this type of pregnancy. And do not feel ashamed. Do not feel embarrassed. It's not an embarrassing thing. God did this. So, He'll give you the energy to take care of your kids. And for those of you who do not know, I'm never ashamed of my age. I'm never ashamed of my situation. I am 49 and I will be 50 years old soon, like in a couple of weeks. And I'm very happy. God allowed me to see another day. He allowed me to see the age that I am now. I've been trying to get pregnant for over 5 years. And God answered my prayers. I just happened to get pregnant this way. So I'm going to bless the Lord at all times. And, times get difficult. They do. Times get hard. They do. What I go through is very, very challenging. I get fatigued. My mind, sometimes my mental state is not the best. I worry about my babies. I worry about I'm human. I'm human, but my faith makes me whole. And I get down, but I don't stay down. So I have emotions. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like always on 10 all the time. To see my body go through, gaining all of this weight. I've never been this size before. I can't get into any of my clothes. I consider myself to be a real, girly girl, to not be able to walk, to have to use a scooter to get around. When people think, you're fat instead of pregnant, because, I'm a big girl anyway. So when I tell people I'm having babies, they're like, oh, and then I'm an older woman. I don't think that I look my age, and I not that it would matter even if I did, but, God blessed me with good genes. I'm a beauty queen. I'm beautiful. So, hey, I can't help how good I look, So, it just is what it is. But, I'm just looking forward to my babies getting here and telling my story and helping other women and spreading awareness so y'all make this video go viral. And I got some other videos I want y'all to make go viral that's coming up. So I'm way past the time. Thank you all for listening, and I hope that this has helped someone to keep moving forward. You all be blessed to have a great night or day or morning or evening.